Welcome back to the Keiser Report. I'm Max Keiser. Time now to go to Boston and talk with Dmitry Orlov of ClubOrlov.com. Dmitry is the author of Collapse Gap and Reinventing Collapse. Dmitry, welcome back to the Keiser Report.
Great to be with you once again, Max.
All right, Dmitry, what caught my eye was you've recently issued a travel advisory for 2013. Tell us more.
Well, it's kind of a travel advisory for planet Earth in line with Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams basically said that the Hitchhiker's Guide had only one thing to say about planet Earth, which is mostly harmless. So I don't think it's going to be all that harmless moving forward because of the food price spikes that are in the pipeline that are pretty much, baked in already because of the disastrous harvests around the world. And price spikes cause revolutions, and revolutions make travel unsafe. So along those lines, I decided to issue a warning.
Okay, let's talk about revolution for a second, because it's talked about kind of conceptually in the United States, but nobody really takes the concept seriously, certainly not in the mainstream media. But what are the ingredients for revolution, and do you see actual uprisings happening in America, or would the possibility of being cut off from the food stamp grid act as a successful deterrent to any potential revolutionary? So there's this tension going on right now. A lot of people see that the powers that are in play already anticipate the revolution and have set up the system in such a way as to simply turn it off. That would effectively stop it in its tracks. What do you think?
Well, there are a lot of people in the United States that are pretty close to the edge because basically their food stamps money runs out every month. You can go to Walmart and observe people pretty much hanging around waiting for the new money to show up on their card so that they can buy some food. And if food prices go up, then these people will be malnourished. They're already malnourished because they buy the cheapest stuff and they eat it, and it hurts their health. I think in the United States it'll be less of a riot type scene, but more of just steady degradation and a lot of misery. But I think in other parts of the world there will be a bit of an explosion having to do with the fact that a lot of people will simply be priced out of the food market. And if you look at how food price spikes correlate with revolt and revolution around the world, it's really quite significant. Every time there's a massive food spike, there's a lot of upheaval in various places in the world, and the places that are closest to the edge are the places where people spend most of their income on food. The place that's in constant upheaval is Congo, where people spend 80% of their income on food, but places like India and Bangladesh are not very far behind.
All right, and of course, right before the revolution in Egypt, that percentage got up to 40%, and that's typically been a point where people start thinking about revolution. Of course, you mentioned the food stamps and the Walmart and food stamps rolling over every month and lines outside Walmart. Now, according to the Associated Press, the number of Americans with incomes at or below 125% of the federal poverty level is expected to reach an all-time high of 66 million this year, Dmitry. Your thoughts?
Well, I think that, everybody is getting poorer except, the upper crust that is running away with all the loot for the time being. And so that's been happening for quite a while, and I see it continuing to happen. There's a constant flow of people dropping off unemployment rolls but not finding work. These people eventually become destitute, and that's the effect we're seeing. I think that that's going to continue for as long as the economy fails to create enough jobs. It's been doing that for many years now, and it's continuing.
Right. Well, there doesn't seem to be any real initiatives in Washington to create jobs. The Federal Reserve, of course, is only interested in taking care of banksters. The White House is only concerned with taking care of banksters. There's nobody around who thinks about creating jobs. It's not on anyone's agenda. So you wouldn't expect any jobs to be created. I think as long as people are consuming on credit, then they're happy. You don't need a job, per se. Now, you wrote Collapse Gap in 2006, Dmitry. Are you surprised how long the U.S. has managed to not collapse? Or has it been collapsing all along, just more slowly than you expected?
Well, it's been a gradual process of postponing I think that I expected certain things to be done. What surprised me was the fact that the nation state, the United States and the European Union, has basically failed to exist. All of these political entities are too hollowed out, and their only hope now is to keep the global finance game going and the global economy going, because they don't really have any way of operating the global economy by other means, by, say, nationalizing all the banks and you know, making sure that the country can sustain itself without imports and things like that. There isn't really any isolationist plan that is workable. So the only thing that these governments can do is try to appease the financial elites in order to keep the system going. Of course, the system is going to implode at some point, no matter what anyone does. So we just have to wait for that.
Here's the big question on everyone's lips. Will this collapse be the result in or be part of a default on debt, that is to say a deflationary default, or will it be met with a wave of money printing and an inflationary spike? This is really the big question. Your thoughts, Dmitry?
Well, I think both, really. In different places at different times, governments will decide to print, basically as a strategy for putting down incipient revolt. And then shortly thereafter, of course, it'll turn out that their paper currency is worth its weight in paper. But so that's kind of the inevitable thing. That, you know, once they turn to that strategy, it's pretty much game over. But on the other hand, I don't think that there's any possibility that without economic growth, which we're not seeing, that these levels and increasing levels of debt can be sustained. And there's a limit to how many how far you can chop away at it before, you know, it's turning out that, you know, nobody really wants to extend any more credit on that basis. So I think that, you know, right now we're in this game where the financial markets are not really able to operate in the style to which they've been accustomed, because there's so much political meddling. I think that there's going to be even more political meddling. You know, the political economy is going to come roaring back in all the places where it can, where governments still have enough sovereignty to actually have an independent policy. But I think it's all going to end the same way, whether you're talking about the West or Russia. It's like everybody jumping off a top story of a skyscraper together, holding hands.
All right, so it's kind of like America is a dog.